gentlemen, welcome to the 5th episode of the Christian Surfer Talk Story podcast with the legend, Dan the Man, Mr. Canada. Don't look behind you, Dan. We're talking about you on the other end of the line. Dan, you and I have just been setting up for this podcast for about 6 hours, it seems like. And so we finally hit record. We're recording now. Hopefully, God bless Grant, our amazing Christian Surfers editor in J-Bay, but hopefully there are zero technical and audio issues this time. So thank you so much for working with us on this. Your patience, buddy. You're a really smart guy. You're much smarter than me. So you've got a beautiful setup on the back end. Tell us about where you're at right now and where you're sitting in, because it looks like a really rad man cave or surf shop.
Hi, good morning. I'm hanging out in my basement. It's halfway underground, and I've basically hung up a bunch of old skateboards and tucked my surfboards in the back corner to have a tiny bit of room in my corner of the shared family basement so that I can make things. So it's a pretty good spot. And then the lighting, which I'm really proud of, I found on the side of the road. It's an old, it's a discarded film set.
Upcycling.
Yeah, it's a discarded film set light, so it gives this really nice wash here, and then you get this like horrendous fluorescent light here. So I'm like beautifully lit. God. So, but yeah,
you look beautiful on all sides, Dan, and as you know, God looks at the heart and the inside, while man looks at the outside. So, but you are Dan the Man, and a beautiful collection of skateboards and surfboards behind you. Nice cover. I can see a Christian Surfers Peru sticker. What's that about? How'd you get that sticker?
That was like 4 years ago. My family, my 3 daughters and my wife, we took off down to South America. Super long story short, which is almost impossible for me. Dad died.
Let's try.
Okay, here it goes. Ready? This is going to sound really brutal, but this is how it goes. Dad died. He never went to South America, where his mother was from. She's from Argentina. He was born in Malta, raised in England. We've been all over the place. And he never got to go to Argentina to visit where his mother was from. We were sitting around a campfire one summer with no money and nothing. Like we were camping in a tent with friends who were staying in a cabin, and my wife said to me, "Oh, it would be really good if we could go, to Argentina. Your dad always wanted to go there, and you never got there." And he never got there, and we were like, "Yeah, we should totally go." When you're sitting around a campfire, it's so wonderful to dream. And we said, well, you shouldn't go for 2 weeks, even if you could, because that's not long enough. You should go for a month. And then we're like, we should go for 6 months. And then 2 months later, a man called me and said, hey, Dan, I've got this crazy, hard, difficult driving a milk truck, delivering, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds of milk every day for 16 hours a day for 6 days a week. But it pays quite well. Would you be interested? And so, again, trying to keep this very short, I worked as my own company, driving my own massive truck for 3 years, essentially 16-hour days for 6 days a week, lifting out and unloading, 100 pounds at a time, boxes all day. And yeah, it paid really well. But I used that money to hire a helper so it didn't kill me. It almost did kill me a couple of times. And we were able to bless these young guys who would sit in the cab with me. They learned to drive truck. They learned all about me. We talked about Jesus. We talked about the army. We talked about surfing. And it was just a time to bless young guys and hang out. And at the end of it, the 3 years, we actually took a month to decompress. We drove 20 hours to North Carolina down to Casey Cruciano country, and I learned how to sleep again. And then we got on a plane, landed in South America. There's Aldo, who we'd never met and had sent an email to. He picked us up at the airport at 3 a.m. And now I have a Christian Surfer sticker on my board.
That's a long journey to get one sticker from Christian Surfers Peru.
I
Hopefully,
got the
Aldo
board.
give you two.
I got the board in Peru too. So I'm really
nice. There you go. All right, you got a board with the sticker.
I'll see you
That's worth it. That's a cool story, Dan. Well, speaking of Aldo, he's such an amazing guy, and obviously been a frontman for us in Peru for a long time. Beautiful family. We got to be praying for him. I don't know if you've heard the news, but he's dealing with cancer, and I think he's had an operation or two. So on the road to recovery. But this makes thank you for our brother and have mercy on his life. But such a great guy, and I think he's hopefully recovering well and in good spirits. So, but yep. Dan, we jumped ahead because it's funny because you and I have actually been talking beforehand. So it's like. I felt like we've already talked about your life, but tell the listeners where you're at right now, where you're based, so where you're coming from, and I want to talk a little bit about the area because it's such a interesting area where you live, and it's so different from the rest of the world, and then we could talk about what Christian Surfers looks like there or has looked like, and then we can pray for that movement, but. Where are you physically at right now?
All right. So, hi everybody. My name's Dan. I live in Nova Scotia, Canada, on the East Coast. We stick way out into the North Atlantic, and it's a beautiful, beautiful part of the world. It's full of rocky points and reefs and slabs and cold, cold water and warm people. And my wife and I moved here from England 18 years ago, coming in October.
Wow.
So that's where we are. And so greetings to you. And you're welcome to come. Really, everybody. We could probably fit you all here and nobody would know that you were here because we have a small population and lots of water.
well, they probably would, because if we took you up on your invite, I'm going to tell Roy after the podcast that we're going to move. Dan has invited the International Christian Surfers Conference.
Yep. Absolutely.
Since it was canceled at Carlsbad this year, which it's going to be online, so make sure you join.
Absolutely.
We're all going to go to Nova Scotia, which not many people know where it is, but now they do. The world secret surf spot. Just kidding. We'll bleep all this out so you don't blow it up. But imagine 300 or 500 Christian surfers coming to your town.
all the CS from Norway and Scotland. CS from Norway and Scotland will come here to warm up. The rest of you will show up and be like, yeah, no, God's calling me to be a skater.
Yeah, we're going home. Yeah. That's right. Because tell us a little bit about that. It's not exactly like Hawaii. It sounds like the waves are really good, so it's probably like Hawaii in that case. But the temperature-wise, just as you alluded to, it's probably only the Christian surfers in Norway and Iceland and other cold parts that could probably get along there and have proper equipment when they show up. What's the average water temp for you guys?
Our water temperature is incredible. It's sort of unlike anything ever I've seen.
Incredibly cold.
Yes and no. So in the winter, stupid cold. And I'll put my hand up right away. Full disclosure, I've quit trying to be a winter surfer. It's very demanding on time and family, but also physically and mentally, it's a huge thing. That doesn't mean you can't surf.
What kind of wetsuit or rubber do you need for winter?
I have the gear. It's a 5'4", and the 7-8 mil boots and 7 or 8 mil gloves and whatever warm water you can pour down your neck to pre-charge your suit. But we're talking air temperature minus 30 is not unusual, and then you add in some wind chill on top of that. And water
minus 30 Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Celsius. I don't know how to do the conversion.
Wow.
If you're trying to do the conversion, just
minus
start
200
crying.
Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Well, either way, it's cold. Even at that point in Fahrenheit or Celsius, it is. That's crazy, brother.
And the water is 0 or below 0. It'll just freeze up. The ocean on the shore is ice.
Okay, so you're surfing in ice, basically.
Almost. Yeah.
Wow.
But then in the spring and summer, Saturday was International Go Surfing Day, and I took my daughters to the beach, and it was 36 degrees when I left the house. It was super hot for us. It was 29.
36 degrees is hot for you guys.
Yeah, 36 is oh my goodness, people are dying. It's so hot.
Yeah.
And we got in the water, and I had a 3-2 on, And I almost went back out to put my boots on because the water was so cold. Like, I think it was 9 degrees.
9 degrees.
And my daughter
without
was
boots.
in. My
and
daughter
a
was
3-2.
in with a short sleeve wetsuit, body surfing. Like,
Wow.
tough
So you-
kid.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Tough family, Dan. So like, you guys are like legitimately hardcore out there, because I know surfers in SoCal that don't even surf in the winter.
I want to distance myself from the hardcore because as I put my hand up and admitted, but yes, to surf in the winter here, it takes brains that you don't die, but it takes a willingness to
dedication.
be pretty tough. Like we went out for a surf a little while back before my friend's house had heat. We put a wood stove in the surf house, but we went out to surf and it was really cold. We came back in and changed inside the house, and the house was like 3 degrees above zero, and it felt warm. Like we were like, oh, this is so nice. Like, so basically, if you're in a hot country right now, cover yourself in the coldest shower you can, and then go into your freezer and have people throw ice and water at you for 45 minutes, and then step
That's what it's like to surf with you in Nova Scotia. Got it.
In the
That's
winter.
a great picture. That's like the new ice bucket challenge. If you want to surf with Dan in Nova Scotia, that's what you have to do to qualify. Wow. Well, Dan, that is nuts, and I think so many of us take it for granted.
Okay, now
live.
real quick. The other side of that is that when the hurricanes tear up North Carolina, when New York starts to go off, we're just sitting there going, okay, bring it. Because not only do we get swell for days, but we get warm water. So the ridiculous, this is the unbelievable part, is that we go from 0 degrees to water, and I've walked into our ocean, the same ocean, and it's been 20 degrees. So, I mean, you talk about, like, my other reference would be like the UK, where their water might be 7 in the winter and maybe 13 in the summer. Right? So we're talking about a 21 degree water temperature swing. So
that's massive.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we got you on the podcast, because we had to mix it up. We had to get some real cold water surfers on here, because we had Dennis Leon in Costa Rica on the last episode, Mike Abbott from Mexico, Puerto Escondido, both tropical, warm places, 80-degree Fahrenheit water, and then we had Robbie O'Brien, Pastor Robbie from Florida, and then Casey Cruciano from Outer Banks. So you're our first cold water surfer on the 5th episode, and we'll see if anyone takes you up on your invite. I don't know if they'll be down after this podcast.
if you read that list back the other way, I think you might have listed us in surfing quality ability too. I'd definitely be.
Come on.
No.
We know you got some good waves there, and we know you're a good surfer, Dan.
No. It's lies, people. We have awesome waves, but I can push you in the direction of people who can surf.
Yeah. Well, you've sent me some photos in the past, and the waves look amazing. I think you called it like a cold water Canadian trussels, and I just couldn't believe it. Just perfect A-frame peaks. And let's talk about that, because when you and I first met, I don't even know how many years ago that was. It was before I was married, and you inspired me to marry an English girl, because I was like, wow, Dan doesn't talk he doesn't have an English accent, but he is so cool. I need to go marry an English girl. And this is before I knew you were actually part English. But we just hit it off. We were in the Outer Banks. I think it was a Christian Surfers U.S. East Coast campout. Roy Harley was coming through town. I think he had just become international director.
Yep.
Right around that point. And then you drove down to the Outer Banks from Nova Scotia. I think I flew from California or something like that. And how many hours drive is that for you, driving down from Canada?
It was 20 hours. So
20 hours. That's great. And did you just do that like nonstop?
No, we had a short layover somewhere. I don't even remember where it was. So
little bathroom stop.
That was my decompression month. Like, that was getting to know my kids again. Because I've been going to bed at 6:30 in the morning and getting up at, 12 in the morning, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning to go to work. So my kids were still pretty young. and so I was on wild sleep schedule. Like that whole month, I was waking up at like 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, feeling like I'd overslept. It was freaky.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that was so cool to meet you there. Thank you for making that 20-hour drive to hang out with us. And I know you and Roy like instantly hit it off, and that you guys have stayed in touch. I remember you sent me some toys. You mailed me some toys for his kids or something in California so I could pass them off to him. But we love having you as part of the movement. But I know, kind of segueing into Christian Surfers Canada, it's been a whole set of different challenges up there for you guys and Bridget as well, because it's not a place like California or Hawaii or some of these other slightly warmer places. And by the way, I think you win the award for the coldest climate in Christian Surfers, maybe spiritually and physically.
You know what? Neither of those awards anybody wants to win. I promise. Like, our friends in Norway who are legit like Arctic Circle surfers. Our friends. We've read in the Groundswell book about how hard Japan was for Christian surfers, and it is hard everywhere, and it's sometimes, having traveled a little bit, having had the opportunity as a family, but also just to this idea that, man, it's so easy if we were somewhere else. I would encourage everybody, it isn't easy elsewhere, but it is. When you come here, you'll be like, oh man, the people are so friendly. I got to tell them where I was, and people are interested in. We were at the beach and we led somebody to Jesus, and I would just be like, oh man, that's so unfair. I just turn into like a little pocket Jonah, like, come on God, what are you doing? Just burn all these heathens. Why are you bringing people here to save them? Right? And yet at the same time, when we have an opportunity to go elsewhere and we step into another climate and we step into another culture and we embrace people who didn't know us from Adam, and just the love of God just flows out of you, you're like, man, how come my stories of being here, it seems so much easier, and then when I come home, it's so tough. I'm not looking for the award for the toughest place to have a CS at all. We are the arguably the easiest country in the world to live in. This COVID lockdown thing hasn't affected my daily life, and the government is sending money to help my family because I'm unemployed. The heartbreak and the upheaval that is going on in the world, my heart goes out to you guys. Listen, we love you and we're praying for you, and we're asking God to do miracles where they're needed, and for governments to call on God to help them, and so that you'll see breakthrough in your countries, right? This is not woe is us Canada, but we have a difficult CS story. So I want to make sure I preface this stuff with some truth that God is good and that we love him and he is king. Some truth about me that's going to be tough to say, which is that I'm not massively disciplined. We haven't pursued this maybe as excellently as we could have. I'm literally sitting below the kitchen table where Christian Surfers Canada was started, with a group of people who had a heart after God and wanted to see something.
Wow.
But yet we maybe didn't know what we had before we bit off something that we really thought we wanted to chew. The Christian surfer story around the world is Groms being reached, is people going out and surfing together, is communities trying stuff, it's people being in homes, it's messy, it's hard work, and yet at the end of it, it's this allure of surfing and being Christians. And rose tinted glasses are a thing. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. Looking forward, my heart is like, oh man, this is a tough row to hoe. This is, I don't think if we sat down the starters of any Christian surfer and said, hey, how easy was it? any of them be like, oh
Right.
man, it was a piece of cake. We put up a poster, 50 Grom showed up, they all got saved. Now they've all run their own home churches, and half of them are married to each other, and we've got bands and we've got ministries. And no, it's like, oh, well, these kids fell away, or these kids just spit in our face, or actually when I went up to that group, I had no idea what to say, and I just kept my mouth shut. Right?
Right.
There's a skateboard behind me. There's a skateboard here behind me with a cross on it. And that essentially has been my ministry, quote unquote, in the skateboard community, and some of those guys surf. I'm on a new skateboard now, and I put a cross on it. And it gets some looks, but oh man, I've been really struggling with even having this conversation, Mark, because I don't want to present a fraudulent view of Christian Surfers Canada. Because
well, that's
the
what
truth
we love
is,
you, Dan. You're just honest, and it's yeah. Thank you for being honest. The ministry is tough and messy.
Some of it's self-inflicted. You know, you've got to be intentional about relationships. You've got to reach out and encourage each other and support one another. And as a very small Christian community, surfer community, I, as a part of that, put my hand up and say, hey man, you know, we haven't done the best job supporting each other. Maybe that starts again today. And if it doesn't start again today, it starts again tomorrow. So...
Yeah. Well, Dan, thank you for that's something we can pray for, you know. And hey, look, it's ministry is not definitely far from perfect. That's why none of us do it. You know, we do it. We try to love people out of our brokenness. You know, because God loved us first. And hey, CS looks different in all parts of the world, and it always goes through different seasons. You know, ebb and flows, and so we just need to keep praying for you guys. We're just still stoked and psyched that you guys are still part of the movement, part of the family. You guys always will be. It doesn't matter if there's an official chapter or CS movement or not. You know, we're family on mission, and you do life together, and that's what we do. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world or the amount of activities. You know, we all have the heart to follow Jesus and to bring others, you know, in our life and from our beach communities along with us in that. So. Thank you for doing that, Dan. I know it hasn't always been easy, and especially when it's cold and you're not like, it's not like parking lots in Southern California where everyone's just hanging out, you know, and there's a huge Grom scene and everyone's just having a picnic afterwards. You guys are basically surfing barrels in ice, coming out with icicles all over your nose, and Lord knows a 543 probably at the least. Going into an oven to the ice beard, which I can never get because I can't even grow a beard, you know, just Asian mustaches with 6 hairs. But I'm sure it's still painful, and wanting to like just crawl into an oven to defrost. So thank you for your heart for the nation, and we love Canada, and what you know, an amazing, beautiful place to be. As cold as it is, and with some beautiful people and beautiful feet such as yourself, and you know, let's keep lifting you and Bridget and your family and all the other CS Canada people up in prayer, and pray for that revival there. And I hope you guys can come to the next international conference, because it may be in Nova Scotia or it'll be back in Carlsbad next year in September. Nice. in California. We'd love to see you. I would love for people to meet you in person, just to see, you know, your genuineness, your heart, you know, your love for the Bible, your love for Jesus, and hopefully it comes across in this podcast. But hanging out with you in person is just like, you know, you listen to a band you love on CD or music or, you know, on Apple Music or iPhone, and then when you go see the band live in person, you're like, oh, these guys are amazing, and I just want people to have that experience with Dan, the Bible man, wanting to hang out and get to know you. So we've got about 6 minutes left on this podcast. I wish we had 60 more minutes. And it's funny because you and I were like setting up for this call, like that was an hour in itself. So it's funny that we did. It was longer than the actual podcast. But we're going to keep praying for you guys. Your family, you said you're English. You grew up near Oxford, correct?
Sort of. I was born in BC on the
Okay.
west coast of Canada. My parents
Okay.
were English. Then when I was 13, moved to England and got beat up there, and then moved back to Canada. Then couldn't find any work, moved back to England, moved back to Canada. Met my wife. She was studying at University of British Columbia, and she's English. She's very English. One of my buddies doesn't even like talking to her on the phone because he can't understand her.
Wow. I gotta get my wife to talk to her, Lydia.
She and I
Hit
met
it
at
off.
an Asian church. We were like the only two white single English
Wow.
sounding people, and they were like,
You
"Darren,
guys
Kelly,
sound
you
just
have to
like
meet."
us. We're like identical twins. I actually didn't
and
meet
so-
my wife at an Asian church, although probably a lot of people think that. We actually met on Facebook, but we met in person at the international conference in Australia. So all the more reason for
Nice.
you to bring your awesome
Yep.
English wife and your 3 awesome kids, your beautiful daughters to. We're going to pray for you guys to get to Carlsbad to San Diego next September. You got a year to save up, but no excuse not to show up online for the
Yes.
digital conference. So looking forward to hanging out with you there.
I genuinely extend the welcome here. Insider knowledge, come in September and October, bring a 3-2, bring a pair of boots. And we have a huge university population. Here's a sales pitch. There's tons of single people here that surf. If
All right.
you have a
So
ministry
for all the
to
single
single people,
Christian surfers, if you want to get married, go do a mission trip with CS Canada and Dan.
we
I
have
love
space. We have space for you if you like to live in a tent. We have space for you if you can prearrange it. But genuinely, we are a small place with lots of surf and big-hearted people, and it's stunningly beautiful, as everywhere in the world I've ever been has been. The thing that makes places ugly is what people have done to it. But everywhere you go is beautiful. But where we are is gorgeous. So, but the water is warm in September, and we have waves in September.
Perfect.
So,
That's what I
don't
forgot
bother
to
coming
ask you
summer.
earlier on the podcast is what's the best season? Because I know we've already talked about it. But so it's fall time
Hurricanes.
before
Hurricane season.
Hurricane season is
Yep.
when you want to go. Sounds like you'll
If
get
you
away
want, if
through
you want,
two.
if you want to paddle out and just sit because
Okay.
you know where the waves are coming. Come when Casey and all his buddies are getting barreled down in Hatteras because they just have
Okay.
like a ridiculous treadmill, and we just paddle 30
You
yards out. And
you
sit on
guys
a-
are the
a peak.
secret hurricane spot.
We
when
got the peaks. We got peaks.
Outer Banks is going up.
None
Okay.
None of this treadmill paddling. All those
Canadian
sandbar
peaks.
monkeys. Oh
We-
man.
We love it, Dan. And then, so with the population there and with how coded it can get, what is the surfing population there? Are there like 5 of you guys? Are there a couple hundred? What are you guys dealing with?
Okay, genuinely, real quick. I always say that. The first surfers came to Nova Scotia probably late 50s, early 60s. We had a couple of draft dodgers, self-proclaimed, that's not a slur, who came up to Canada and because of the Vietnam fiasco and started surfing. My
Okay.
friend John was here early 70s, no power, no indoor plumbing, surfing.
Wow.
And back then the
Boondocks.
population was like 6 people. When we moved here 18 years ago almost, the surfing population was less than 100. If you saw a surfer with a board on the roof, even
That's
18
crazy.
years ago, I stopped a guy on the highway because he had a surfboard. Now it's probably 300-ish. The family is growing. It's getting younger-ish. It's not a huge Grom scene, but it's surfers with kids, essentially. And our color is changing, too. We had a paddle out, solidarity paddle out 2 weeks ago. And we have the oldest population of African Nova Scotians, like 7 or 8 generations at least.
Super
I'm
cool. Wow.
Massively inadequate to be historically accurate there, but the population is growing and changing and becoming
Super cool.
beautiful, more beautiful.
Wow.
So-
Well, God's put you there for a reason, Dan. Relatively new surfing community in the world, but you are there for obviously a greater reason than yourself. So
10
thank
people
you.
is a crowd. 10 people is a crowd.
Wow. That's
we had-
insane.
We had a hurricane. We had a hurricane last fall, And my buddies and I sat and watched gorgeous surf from the backyard. We sat in the grass and watched gorgeous surf until like a bunch of people had gone in. And it was like, we looked out, there's 17 people in the water, and there's us three, and we're like, nah, it's just, there's too many people. It's
Too
way
crowded.
too crowded.
10 people, way too many people.
It got down to like
Said no one
7
ever.
people. It got down to like 7 people, so we got our suits on. We wandered down and got in the water as the sun went down. So there was like, there was two or three other people, and they went in, and we surfed this like gorgeous hurricane swell in the dark, in the moon and in the starlight for a couple. Oh, it was just an epic session. So it was
Super
so
cool,
good.
Dan. Well, hey, buddy, we just hit our 30-minute mark, but I'm glad we got to talk a little bit about your family, how you ended up there, the culture and the scene, the vibe in Christian Surfers Canada, especially Nova Scotia, the crazy elements of the surf seasons that you got to deal with. Let's try to do the lightning round real quick, even though we've gone over time. Lord, thank you for your grace. Hopefully these video files stay low and compressed for our amazing Christian Surfers video editor, Grant Clegg and J-Bay. Grant, we love you. God bless you. Thanks for all your hard work on these podcasts. All right, Dan, bodyboard, hand plane, which I know you've got a secret hobby about. Shortboard, longboard, fish, foil, or SUP. What's your craft of choice?
My craft of choice is anything that makes it difficult, because I'm not very good, so I have an excuse. Over this shoulder is a 5.0 twin, which I love. And I'm a heavy guy. I'm like 225 pounds, and it's a 5.0 twin. And then there's an Alea behind me, and then a 411, and hand planes. I love hand planes. If you don't have a hand plane, get one, make one, buy one, steal one, borrow one. They're awesome.
Contact you on Instagram or Facebook, or not WhatsApp, because I know you don't have WhatsApp, but find Dan online somehow, order one from him, because I know you're making them, and they're beautiful. Barrels, turns, or airs?
Turns on anything over 8 feet long, and barrels on hand planes.
I love that. That's a great answer, Dan. No one else has said that yet, so you're the first. If you had to surf
my
wave,
daughter got barreled at Hossegor on a hand plane, so anybody can. Not that she has inadequate, but if you want to get barreled, get a hand plane. You just get barreled.
I think you just converted me to hand planing. I've been surfing for 20 years, have never been able to get barreled on a normal surfboard. I think it's time to move to the hand plane and see if I can get barreled. So, my first order is coming up after this podcast. Custom hand plane.
If you can't get barreled on a hand plane,
okay. Oh man, I know. Lord help me.
Sorry, number two.
Next question: if you had to surf a wave for the rest of your life, which one would it be? Feel free to name all the secret spots in Nova Scotia.
Okay, the one that I accidentally named is out my buddy's back window, out of the Christian Surfer House in Canada. Come to the Christian Surfer House in Canada.
That's where. Is it actually called like Buddy's House Back Window? Is that the actual name of the wave?
Kind of, maybe. No.
No. Okay. All right. Grant, bleep all this out. Where would you like to see Christian Surfers Canada in 10 years?
I would like to see it where we planned for it to be, but we actually sat down and wrote down a roadmap for what Christian surfers could be, with a healthy infrastructure, with healthy oversight, with accountability and responsibility, with a plan for growth and home churches. But most of all, I would like to see it alive, and I would like, not that CS matters, because Jesus matters, but I would like to see surfers becoming Christians, and I would like to see Christians understanding that, skateboards belong in church, and that surfboards belong on tops of cars that are a part of the church community. And the reason why right now they don't is because the lifestyle and the and the nature of the people who are mostly participating in these sports have no idea who Jesus is. We are a weird country that has educated people who don't know how desperately they need God because they have everything. And we don't have a Christian culture society similar to our neighbors to the south. We just don't. You can't assume that people understand what Christmas is or what Easter is. They don't. They have no idea.
Yeah.
The most common question I've been asked in the workplace is, "Oh, you're a Christian. Do you celebrate Christmas?"
Gotcha.
There's
Wow.
a world of confusion in Canada, and we people need Jesus because he's the answer, and they're looking for answers everywhere. But he's it. So I don't care
Amen.
where CS Canada is. What I need to care and really do care about is how Jesus is and who he is presented to. So it starts here, and then we go and find the people that need him, which is everybody, including myself.
Yeah. The whosoever's. Well, thank you, Dan. Thanks for being so honest and so eloquent as always. And I love how you were just so raw and you paint these beautiful pictures for us that you don't hold anything back. I hope all the listeners or viewers on this podcast got to know you a little bit better, got to hear a little bit about Canada and the cool stories and what you're dealing with up there. That last question in the lightning round, that's how we can pray for these amazing people. We're 5 minutes over, almost 6. Lord, thank you for your grace and mercy. Dan, it was good talking to you, buddy. I hope you can make the international conference, and maybe it'll be in Nova Scotia the 2 years after that.
It has to be. It has to be.
All right.
Shout out to Puno.
Tell the locals
Retired
we're coming.
Puno. Best water
300 to
ever.
500 Christian surfers. We're all coming to town. We're taking everyone out for Christian coffee.
Beer. Lobster.
Okay, and beer. Love you, buddy. Talk soon. You.